Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is my review of The Wrestler. Before I start, I will say my end of year awards for wrestling stuff will probably be posted at the end of January because I still need to see some stuff from Japan and Mexico from December. And a little bit of Puerto Rican stuff, but not much, so don't worry. Global Gauntlet Night 2 is coming. I have to reshoot it because the review, I just couldn't post it. It would stop and it was messed up for some reason. So, and I've been doing some things, and I'll be also doing the Dome Show review, so don't worry about that. My initial thoughts on the wrestler going in, I was hoping it was as good as everybody says it is. Why do I look red? Red and blue at the same time. I was hoping it would be as good as everyone said it would be, or was, because they'd already seen it and it came out a bit later. I had to drive. Now, I live near one of the major shopping centres in the entire country here in Australia, and I went to the cinemas and they didn't have it. And this is they play everything, but instead they were playing Bride Wars. There was, of all the cinemas in the state, I went through them all. They were either playing Bride Wars or The Wrestler, and most of them were choosing Bride Wars. And it's like, probably because it's rated R. So I had to drive into a more secluded area, and I heard the banjos playing, and people knew we were outside as they were giving us looks. But it wasn't too far from my home. It was only about 20 minutes, but I didn't know places like that existed 20 minutes from my home. It was quite freaky. But yeah, once I'm just trying to, because I'm doing this off the top of my head, I'm trying to gather my thoughts on it. I thought it was extremely good. Maybe not as good as everyone was saying. Well, it wasn't as good as I was expecting it to be, but it was still very good and probably already one of my favourite movies of all time. They could have appropriately titled this film "The Fuck Up," because that's pretty much what it is. It's just, wrestlers are basically, well, not wrestlers, but this wrestler in particular, Randy the Ram, is a complete fuck up. The only thing he's good at, or was good at, is wrestling, and, he can't do anything else. Of course, it's funny because I don't want to spoil too much, but, I have to say things. He's very good at deli work, because he gets work in the deli, and he's very good at that, but, it's just not the same as being a wrestler. You can tell, as he's walking to the deli, they have the applause, and you can hear people chanting Randy the Ram, and he walks through, and he's just in a little deli section of a store, and he brings all his charisma there, and some people find it just strange and stuff, but he's clearly very good at that. But instead, he chooses to continue his life as a fuck up, and I mean, the character is really, he's not a bad person, and he did try to be a good person throughout the film, and that's, kind of what it is, but he is just this major fuck up. Some of it could be blamed on wrestling, and, I'm trying not to give too much away, but, I found it, I was speaking on some forums with some people before I had seen it, and some people were saying, I wonder if Vince McMahon feels a bit guilty because this, kind of is what happened to a lot of the big stars of the 80s. Now, I saw the movie and I thought, yeah, I could see how he could be kind of guilty, but not all of it will be his fault. The point of the movie wasn't really, look what big wrestling does to people. It's just look how much of a fuck up this guy is. And Mickey Rourke really did carry the movie. And, some people were saying the movie was a real downer. I found it a downer for a lot of the film, but at the end, I didn't walk out thinking, God, that was so depressing. There were really depressing aspects of it. There was like scenes which were just so awkward, and Randy invites this kid in from his street who is a fan of his to play Nintendo, and the kid starts to he's playing this old Nintendo game from the 80s, and the kid is talking about Call of Duty 4, and he's like, what the fuck, Call of Duty 4? And yeah, it's just pretty embarrassing. It really does. It's really a film which makes you just kind of feel for him, because he is just such a fuck up that you can't help but feel sorry for him and be embarrassed by him sometimes. And you know, I didn't feel like, during the movie. It's hard for me to review the movie because during the movie I really didn't feel like I was watching a movie. I thought this could all be taken credibly because wrestlers and strippers go hand in hand pretty much. But yeah, sorry about this poor review. I just wanted to do a video, update you on some stuff, and tell you that to go see The Wrestler if you haven't seen it. It's really good. If you are a wrestling fan, such as myself, that's what my channel's for, wrestling stuff. You will love The Wrestler. I mean, one thing I will say before I'm done is in the cinema, or in the theatre itself, it was about 40 seats and there was about 10 people in there. My friend and I were probably the youngest people in there. All the other people in there were pretty old, middle-aged old people. And during some of the matches and some of the things happening, they were either going or just laughing their asses off at the stuff. And I heard snickers when, spoiler alert, Randy has sex with his co-core in the toilet, and a woman walks past and says, "Get a room." And there was just, it was representing him just continuing to make these bad judgment calls, and representing him fucking up. But they couldn't help but laugh at it, and I found it quite funny too because he knows he shouldn't be doing this kind of shit. And he was trying to make an effort to be responsible, but he just does it anyway. And the thing is, it just goes from scene where she's asking him if he wants to party to just straight into that. So it kind of does represent his pattern of thought. He wasn't thinking, so it just cuts out straight after she asks, like his brain would just cut out. Anyway, I'm done. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.